Hi everyone! I am Ray Alfonso Duna Sabio I, a first-year pharmacy student, and today I will be presenting the basic knowledge of proper techniques in titration that I think we all need to learn. But before I proceed to the main demonstration today, let me give you a brief explanation of what titration is. So titration is used to analyze different raw materials, especially unknown concentrations. In this process, we need a titrant, the known concentration, and it is added with the analyte, a volume added so that we can analyze it. This method is widely used, especially in the field of pharmaceutical analysis or laboratory, because of its capability for high precision. Now, moving on, let me present to you the needed materials in the titration. Firstly, we have the titration setup itself, which is composed of a ring stand with a clamp for the burette that start at 0 mark at the top and larger numbers at the bottom. Next, we have this funnel to avoid spills upon transferring or pouring liquid. Also, we have the 125 ml Erlenmeyer flask, which works best in titration and serves as the receiver or container during the titration. It is often used because of its advantage in accuracy and prevents spills upon swirling since it has a narrow opening. Next, we have the 2 beakers which contains the titrant. As mentioned previously, it is the known concentration. And we also have the analyte, which is the unknown concentration and the one to be determined later on. Next, we have the indicator. It changes color as a response to a chemical change or reaction. Then we have the wash bottle with the deionized water for cleaning the equipment. We also have the volumetric pipette with its suction bulb for easy drawing of solution from the container to pipette, and it is also allow accurate measurement of the volume. And then we need this reading paper or reading card to help us read the meniscus easily. And finally, a white sheet of paper to help us visualize the endpoint. So, given that our materials are already set, now let us start by first, most importantly, clean or rinse the burette with a wash bottle containing deionized water with a small amount of titrant. Let us not forget to open the stopcock of burette to drain at the bottom, and be sure to have a beaker below to hold the water. Make sure that there is no liquid clinging inside of the burette. If there is so, repeat the said process. Take note that the clinging liquids inside might affect the accuracy in measuring the volume. After ensuring that the burette is thoroughly cleaned, set up the titration by vertically putting the burette to the clamp in the ring stand and giving space to the Erlenmeyer flask below. Before pouring the titrate on the burette, make sure that the stopcock is closed, or else the solution will leak or drain, and the Erlenmeyer is properly positioned in the bottom. Then after that, we can now place the funnel at the top of the burette. Next, fill the burette with a titrant almost to the top, but not necessary to always level with a 0 mark. Just sufficient volume to complete the process or reaction. Also, it is very crucial to check the bubbles inside the burette. If there's any, gently tap the column to release the bubbles, and we can also remove the funnel. We can also open the stopcock and let the few ml of titrant go through to remove any trapped gas or air. After that, rinse the tip of the burette as well as the flask. Now, we have this index card and pencil. Record the starting volume by reading the lower concave meniscus using the reading card for more accurate reading. And since it is very vital for the calculations later on, we must record the correct number of significant figures. And accordingly, in recording the volume, add 1 decimal place beyond the smallest graduation. Note that in this case, record the volume nearest to 0.01 ml, estimating the final place. Going back to the process, we will use the volumetric pipette carefully to transfer the analyte to the flask. Upon pouring the analyte, put few drops of the indicator in your flask containing the analyte and record the volume. Then, return to its position in the bottom of the burette, but now with a white paper sheet below to easily detect color change. Next, use both hands in operating the burette, one hand holding the flask and gently swirling it, and the other hand turns the stopcock. Let the titrant flow into the flask quickly as we swirl the flask with the analyte and indicator. Note that the color of the indicator appears and disappears as you swirl. Now, assuming that the volume of the titrant is increasing inside, at this point, we can now notice a change of color of the solution inside the flask, gradually turning into a magenta or fuchsia pink. When this happens, it is a signal for us to close the stopcock and record again the final remaining volume inside the burette, and with the initial volume previously recorded, subtract the 2 volumes. In this way, it allows us to get the estimated volume of titrant used in the analyte to complete the reaction. However, just as what I have mentioned, it is estimated. So, we are going to do is to subtract 5 ml of the estimated endpoint volume to get the amount of the titrant which can be safely added before the slower addition is required. Assuming the results, we have here one darker color of the solution which indicates that there is an excess titrant in the solution, while the other one is pale and almost faint colored, is what indicates the desired volume or endpoint. In doing this method, we just have to remember that we can have several trials to determine the desired result, since especially the first trial is estimated. Bear in mind that when in the first trial the color is darker, then you have exceeded the endpoint, which means you need to slow down the flow of titrant adding to the analyte until you get the pale and faintly result, which indicate the accurate endpoint. However, if you will experience colorless analyte, don't worry because you just need to repeat the steps. Take note that the steps are to add a drop, rinse, swirl, then record. So that's it! The basic and proper technique in doing titration. Thank you for staying with me, and I hope that you have learned something new about titration process. See you again next time. God bless and adelante!